Hi, welcome to another Tim's Read-Throughs. Today, we'll be jumping back into a feast of ice and fire, making a recipe from Winterfell, turnips and butter. The Lord's seat at the head of the table had been left empty, but Robb sat to the right of it, with Bran across from him. They ate suckling pig that night, and pigeon pie, and turnips soaking in butter, and afterward the cook had promised honeycombs, a Game of Thrones. So we'll be making medieval armored turnips. It says here, turnips have sadly been pushed aside over time by their more modern cousin, the potato. However, this medieval recipe is rich and flavorful, and the turnips act as a delightful canvas for the cheese and spices. A historically accurate version of potatoes au gratin, the garnished turnips are lovely on any medieval table. So it takes about 5 or 6 turnips. We're going to use about 6 ounces of Parmesan cheese and 4 ounces of 6 ounces of mozzarella cheese, 4 ounces of Parmesan, and what does it say here? 4 tablespoons of butter. And then there's also a spice that we'll be using called Poudre Douce, Poudre Douce. Now, I may be pronouncing that wrong. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what we're going to start off with. So let me pause it here, get set up, and we'll put together some Poudre Douce. Okay, Poudre Douce, or sweet powder, was a common medieval spice mix, equally useful for flavoring savory main courses and sweet desserts. It was also used to season mulled wine or hippocras. We've replaced the cassia flour with extra cinnamon, although if ground cassia is available, 2 teaspoons may be used in place of half of the regular cinnamon. Then it has a recipe here from a medieval cookbook. Take 4 ounces of very fine cinnamon, 2 ounces of fine cassia flour, an ounce of selected Mecca ginger, an ounce of grains of paradise, and 1/6 of an ounce of nutmeg and galangal combined. Crush them all together. Take a good ½ ounce of this powder and 8 ounces of sugar, which thus makes sweet powder. La Viandière de Televent, 14th century. Like I said, we have 4½ teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of grains of paradise, a pinch of nutmeg, a pinch of galangal. I'm really not sure the pronunciation of that one. And 1 cup of sugar, and it says to combine all the ingredients and store in a small airtight jar. So I'll be doing that in just a second. Here we have the Poudre Douce. It's the cup of sugar. It's on the bottom. There's 4½ teaspoons of cinnamon, a teaspoon of ginger, a teaspoon of grains of paradise, which is this right here, and then there's a pinch of nutmeg and a pinch of the galangal. So I'll be mixing this up, and we'll be putting this in the layers of the turnips. Okay, the next step is peeling and boiling the turnips. It says to peel them and boil them until they're soft. So yeah, I got a few started already, and let's see. Let's see if I can do this all fancy like for you. Nope. Close. It was close. But yeah, so we'll be peeling these, and for those of you who haven't really cooked with turnips before, my first time was actually the last recipe, which was the sister stew. Yeah, that actually turned out really good. It's something I plan on making a lot, especially on rainy days, and in the winter time. It's just one of those recipes that really warms you to the bone. But yeah, they kind of have a smell of a radish, which I'm not really fond of radish. I never was. I don't like them in my salads. I don't like the flavor, but they're not as pungent
Like it's kind of like a bland radish almost. Like the book says, they're kind of along the lines of a potato, which really has me looking forward to this recipe here. So once I get this one peeled, I got about one more, and then we'll get them in a pot of boiling water and get them boiling. Once that gets rolling, then I'll probably pick up the video again, and we'll continue with some of the rest of the parts of the recipe.
Okay, so the next steps are, I peeled the turnips and have them boiling till tender, about 20 minutes it says. Then allow them to cool, and in the meantime, grate or slice the mozzarella or provolone cheese, or grate the parmesan. So I skipped a step because I probably shouldn't have, but I just went ahead and got some shredded cheese. Now, I guess for cooking, I probably should have got some nice mozzarella cheese since I'm doing this on a video. I'm sorry about that. I feel like I shortchanged you. I'll tell you what, on the next video, no, not the next one because I don't know what I'm doing next. But when I do the bowl of brown video, I'm going to go all out for that one. So I shortchanged you on this one. I'm going to hook you up on the next one. So I got pre-shredded cheese. The next step would be coating the bottom of a 9x9 pan. And then, no. Before we coat the bottom of the pan, we will be slicing the cooled turnips. So I just started them. Water's not even boiling yet. Once that's boiling, we'll go over and check on those. And from there, I'll get them out, let them cool, probably hang out, and just kick it for a minute. And we'll slice them up real thin, and we'll get this thing rolling. Okay, we've got some boiled and cooled turnips. I almost called them potatoes. So the recipe calls for slicing these as thin as possible. Now you want a sharp knife for this, and I'll tell you, they slice really easy. It also is going to make the cooking time less in the oven. Now I've got the oven preheating, so after I get these sliced, I plan on, that one actually feels a little thicker than I wanted it. After I get these sliced, I'm going to be putting these in the pan and getting them ready for the oven. Maybe I should turn it this way so you can see. Alright, and I have to apologize for the background. My fiance has found Riverdale on Netflix, and I have no idea what that show's about. This one seems a bit thick. I'm going to put that, maybe we'll put that on the bottom. And we just have to fill in a corner. So we'll be cutting the rest of these and then putting them in the pan. So yeah, I guess we'll come back when we're getting the pan together. Now the last part before baking is coat the bottom of a deep 9x9 inch pan or 9-inch round baking dish with butter. Then arrange the ingredients in layers that are thin as possible. First some cheese, then some turnips, then some butter, then some spice. Repeat the layers until ingredients are used up, keeping each layer as thin as possible. Top with more cheese. Bake until the cheese is just melted, around 15 minutes. So let me start off here with my little bit of butter. Let's see.
coat the bottom of that. Let me actually set this book aside. Alright, so there's got to be a better way to do this. Here. There we go. Coat the bottom with a thin layer. That's probably a thick layer of butter. And I'll set that right there. Alright. So, start off with a little bit of cheese, a thin layer of mozzarella. And here comes Murphy, probably wanting some cheese. And then we'll do a thin layer of the parmesan. Okay, now some turnips. So put a layer of turnips down. Yes, some of these turnips that I got are a little bit smaller than the others. Ooh. Alright, now some butter. That might have been a bit much. And now some spice. Now remember, the spice is the Poudre Douce. This is what I didn't have. This is what I couldn't fit in the shaker. So I'm trying to use this up before I move on to what I have in the shaker there. So now we're going in for more mozzarella. Now, if I were doing this with sliced mozzarella, or like I should have got like an actual ball of mozzarella, these would be thin slices going on top of each turnip. And some parmesan, and now some turnips. Yes, and like I said, that's Riverdale in the background, which I don't know too much about. It's supposed to be an Archie story. Oh, thin layer. Let me pick that back up. Okay, now a little bit of butter. Hoping I have enough butter for the last layer. And the Poudre Douce is, it's probably Poudre Douce or something along those lines. But it is the grains of paradise, the cinnamon. There's a cup of sugar in there. It's mostly sugar and cinnamon. A cup of sugar, 4.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, a teaspoon of ginger, a teaspoon of the grains of paradise, and then a pinch of nutmeg and a pinch of galangal or galangal. These are some of these spices I'm not familiar with, but I'm really looking forward to using, especially that Grains of Paradise. It's got kind of a citrusy smell to it, but the label says something along the lines of like a peppery taste. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Did mozzarella, parmesan, and moving on to, I think, the last two turnips here. Kind of wish I had a bigger pan. So this might be the final layer. That's actually a really thick piece. Yeah, that actually I think is the final layer, just because I'm gonna have to top it off, and yeah, let me hit a. All right. Now this will be served with more butter, since they are buttered turnips. And you know, I was thinking about that. Maybe I'll have to, when I make meals out of these, like I should have last week with the roasted or not last week, but the last time with the roasted arcs with leeks. You know, I should be actually showing these plated, but there's always time for that in the future. I know for a fact I'll be making the sister stew again. Oh, that was a bit much on that one. So the sister stew, maybe I'll be able to make and plate up. Maybe I'll even make the black bread to go with it. So with that, I will be putting another layer of cheese and then popping this into the oven for about 15 minutes until the cheese is melted, and popping it out to show you the finished product. So a little bit of cheese here. I was gonna end the video there, but that was probably a dumb spot to end the video. A little bit of parmesan on top. Okay. And you know what? Just trying to use up the rest of what I have in the bowl. Because I've got this here that I made, and I've got 4 other containers with it. So yeah, with that, we will put this in the bowl, or put this in the oven, and cook it for about 15 minutes. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes now. Timer just went off, so let's open this up and check it out. Oh, and it smells amazing. Cinnamon. You can really smell it. And you can see buttery. Cut off the oven there. You can see there's probably too much cinnamon on that one. But let me grab my thing over here. See some melted cheese. Whoa. Oh, and here comes a blind puppy. Look at that cheese. And the butter just dripping off. So, yeah, there we go. We got some buttered turnips from Feast of Ice and Fire. So, I'm going to grab a fork and I'll try this on screen for you. Let me get a little tilt action here. And we'll check this out. I'm going to pretty good. Pretty good. I'd give it 2 thumbs up, but I'm holding the plate. So, with that, we end another Tim's Read-Throughs. Today with Feast of Ice and Fire edition. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the recipe when you get around to making it. And thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell. I'll see you next time. With, I believe we're going on to a brand chapter of Game of Thrones.